Hi, I'm Lani Huang and I'm a middle school math teacher in Dallas, Texas. I've been hybrid teaching for the last 5 to 6 months since September of 2020, so I thought I'd make a video on some tips or things to expect from hybrid teaching for those who are about to enter into the challenge that is hybrid teaching, or for anyone who's curious on what teaching during a pandemic is like. I hope these tips are helpful to you, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to support. My first piece of advice is that multitasking will be necessary and multiple devices can help. I've been fortunate enough to have a desktop and a work laptop. I know that not everyone has this luxury, but if you have another device like an iPad or your own personal computer, I would definitely recommend using that because it makes a difference in the ease and how smooth a class session can go. The multitasking of, asking in-person kids, reading what questions, concerns kids have in the chat. Sometimes there's an in-person teacher who comes in, sometimes an announcement goes on in the school building. So expect to have to multitask. And if you're already good at that, then great. And if you're not, it's just something that you're gonna have to learn to adjust to with in-person needs and then online at-home needs at the same time. With the multiple screens, I usually have one screen, my laptop screen, that has the Zoom call open where I'm screen sharing or screen displaying the question, the activity, the PowerPoint, and then another screen, my desktop screen, where I can see what students are doing. I use Nearpod. I also use my other screen to take attendance, reference online exemplars that I make, because instead of having my answers for the problems in the lesson on a sheet of paper, I just do it in a PowerPoint so that afterwards I can post it to my Google Classroom so the kids who need an extra resource to help reinforce information can refer to it. My second piece of advice is just make all of your lessons online. Have all of your lessons prepared for online teaching because that'll make it easier for you instead of having to come every day and print out notes and worksheets and have different things for your in-person kids than you would for your online kids. It's easier to just make all lessons online. And I know it's such a weird concept of why would kids come in person to just tune into a teacher through a computer. Something that I've been able to balance is helping the in-person kids navigate what to do, how to best utilize the technology that they've been given, whether it's an iPad or whether it's a Chromebook, teaching them things like the screenshotting feature. I think that those are skills that we assume kids should know. That's something that for some kids needs to be taught, or at least just shown. When they're in person, I definitely have an easier time understanding what the at-home kids see, and I can go in person to make sure that, hey, pay attention, or hey, are you understanding this right now? A lot of kids come to school for that in-person interaction. They miss that, and they definitely, from my experience of teaching, they learn better when they're in a school environment, in a classroom environment around their teacher. Number 3 is to find an incentive program that works for both your online students and your in-person students to keep them engaged and motivated. Incentives are so important, especially during this time where a lot might be happening in our students' personal lives, to keep them engaged in the content and to keep them, wanting to tune in every day. I use Class Dojo, and even though I teach 7th graders, it still works. I know that some people might consider it a little bit elementary, but it's a way for me to keep track of their points. I know that there's other online programs that have virtual money. Any online incentive program where you can keep track of their points, redeem their points, give them points for behavior that you want to incentivize, such as turning in homework, coming to class on time, or you can also give deductions for when they're being disruptive, distracting, not participating, things like that. I know have helped my students and have kept them coming to class every day or on most days and turning in their assignments. Learning from home requires a lot of self-motivation and discipline that kids are still learning. Having incentive programs keeps them accountable, whether the kids choose to redeem their points for a gift card, or if they're coming in person, snacks, candy, chips, a homework pass. Different students will respond differently. I've had kids who say, I'm just gonna save up my points for homework pass so I don't have to do the daily assignment. Other kids, as soon as they get enough points, they're gonna redeem it for candy. Teaching them about delaying gratification for bigger rewards. And it's just a social experiment for me, but also a way to keep kids accountable and motivated to wanna learn. A 4th piece of advice that I have is to make sure to check on your virtual kids. When you have kids in person, it's definitely easier and more comfortable, more natural to want to ask your in-person kids to answer, but don't forget about your at-home kids who also want to answer. I don't mind having my students come off mute to answer, but I know that other kids feel more comfortable answering in the chat. And so whatever form of engagement I can get from my online kids, I make sure to say, hey, I've had all these in-person kids say the answer. At-home kids, tell me what the answer is, or I'm gonna need you to read this problem. My fifth piece of advice is that make time for virtual games that can help build the classroom culture. Some of them already know each other from previous years, some of them don't, but I would say it's important to still make the time to have the kids get to know each other and have the kids better get to know you. So I've played games like Scribble, Drawasaurus. I've done like a crossword puzzle where they'll just, say the answers and I'll enter it in as I screen share. So whatever games and activities you can find that can help bring together all the students, I think makes for a better classroom environment. My sixth piece of advice is to learn and to try out different platforms, tools, games, to see what works best for you and your students. For each class and each teacher, different tools will work better. I know that I have some teachers on my team who love to use Pear Deck. I personally use Nearpod, and we exchange ideas and we share resources on what we've learned. We'll share, oh, maybe Nearpod would be better because it has this activity that Pear Deck doesn't have, or vice versa, how to best use each platform. Kids get bored doing the same thing all the time, but on the other hand, some kids love the consistency and love knowing what to look forward to coming to your class. So I would say, don't change things up too often, but definitely try things, see what works best. There's also Flipgrid and all these other platforms available for use for teachers virtual teaching. I've noticed that for my students, when I've recorded short video lessons or posted a video lesson to accompany my live lesson, that's really helped all of my students. For my online kids who weren't able to tune in, who had internet connectivity issues, and they weren't able to fully hear me, it helps them reinforce the knowledge and they can always go back to the part that they missed in the lesson. For my in-person kids, although I want to believe that all of them understood it within the class time, I know that depending on what's happened that morning, how they're feeling, that their attention might not completely be there, but it's a resource for them to refer back to if they've forgotten something or if they just were spacing out during a part of the lesson. I had never recorded lessons in the past. I might have found YouTube videos to help supplement my teaching, but I've noticed that having the videos definitely helps students, and I can keep track of how many students watch the videos. Kids may flip-flop from learning from home and learning from school, and that may affect their performance. So I've noticed with my students, from the ones who consistently were coming to school and then started learning from home, that for a lot of them, their performance dropped. The students who were once coming in person definitely either are not as engaged or aren't as participatory. Look forward to that or anticipate the challenges that come with kids who learn in school and then go back to learn from home and flip-flop back and forth. They have a harder time adjusting because at home there might be siblings that they have to look after, or they might not be able to fully concentrate because they have access to their phone, their computer, their TV without adult guidance or without supervision. My ninth piece of advice is to have patience on yourself and your students as you're navigating through the challenges and everything that goes with hybrid learning. Your in-person students will be understanding, your at-home kids will be understanding. I believe that. When I've had issues with connectivity at the school, or even with a platform not working and having to pull together another platform to use on the spot, the kids have tried their best to adapt. I really want to thank you for being a teacher during this time and for taking on the challenge of having to hybrid teach. The kids need you, and we as a society need you, so hang in there. And I hope that you have a great rest of your school year. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more videos on traveling, teaching, and living in Texas. Bye.